That's a privilege I have as a doctor, that I've had the privilege to listen to people, because as a doctor, when people come from in front of you, they're actually quite vulnerable. Because people want to be open. They will tell me things that they wouldn't even tell their spouse. So I take that privilege very seriously. It's a privilege to do what we do. And if you can listen to people in their most vulnerable state, you can make a difference. So it's also very important. One of the things that I hear that really bothers me is like a patient go to a doctor's office and they tell them like, there's nothing we can do for you. You're wrong or something like that, right? So really validating the patient.
Welcome back to Beyond the Brand. Today I'm sitting down with Dr. Asare Christian, physician, founder of Aether Medicine, and someone who's not just changing how we treat healthcare, but how we think about aging, pain, and performance overall. Dr. Christian is a graduate of MIT, Johns Hopkins, and Harvard, but more than that, he's building something different, a practice rooted in longevity, purpose, and results. I won't be doing all the talking. I'm gonna let Dr. Christian go ahead and introduce himself. For those of you who don't know who he is.
Thank you, man. Thanks for being here. Really
sure.
appreciate this. So my name is Asare Christian. I'm Dr. Christian, and I'm the founder of Aether Medicine. And this is a medical practice that focuses on cellular health as a way to solve pain, improve performance, as well as longevity. And the reason why we focus on the cell is that fundamentally to overall your health, it's a function of a cell that's not working well, okay? So a lot of times in conventional medicine, we're just giving you medicines to solve symptoms without looking at what is going on within the cell that may be going wrong, that needs some help. And it's all about finding ways to signal the cell or give the cell the information it needs, because the cell has all the intelligence. When you think about it, from one cell, you have an eye, you have a heart, all of these things develop. So the intelligence of the cell is something that we've actually dialed in here and really try to figure out how do we use the right signal, including lifestyle, supplements, peptides, hormones, regenerative therapies, to try to get people to become healthy.
Yeah, so you can say that you're not just a doctor's practice, you're more of a wellness center and somebody that's dedicated to just making sure that people are living a longer, healthier life as well. It's just not all just giving them the treatment and walking away.
Absolutely, because one of the things that, as a pain management doctor, a lot of times when you go see a pain management doctor, you're either getting some injections or some medications and all of that. But one of the things that I recognize as a doctor for about 10 years now and shifting to this way of doing medicine is that when people are healthy, pain gets better. And it's all about really focus on how do we get people healthy, dialing in sleep, dialing in nutrition, exercise, all of these things that people know how to do, but how do we actually make it more precise? And this is where we have specific data, specific diagnostics that we can use to really get people to get the right signal to get healthy.
Awesome. So again, thank you again for being here. I mean, I really appreciate you, taking this time to, sit down with me and learn more about your practice and how you go about things. So before we get into it, just like tell the people how you feeling, how everything's going, any wins that's happened lately with the practice and yourself.
Yes. So I'm feeling great. I feel honored actually to be here because we go way back even before all of this stuff. And to be able to have this conversation with you is great. I feel great. I feel so grateful that I actually went into this practice. This practice has been here for 3 years. Before then, I was doing conventional medicine, injection procedures, all of that. But this journey has really changed so much. I've learned so much, and how much we can actually help people. So right now, I'm not just solving people's pain. I'm solving their hormones. I'm solving their gut. I'm solving so many things that people are struggling with, and all we have is a medication. So feel grateful, and some wins. We have a new medical assistant here who's great and working with us. So finding stuff is difficult.
So you're growing.
We are growing. Yes.
That's
so we're excited
awesome.
to do that. Yes.
Awesome. So let's talk about a little bit about the journey and how you got into it. I know you've worked with like some big institutions like Penn, Good Shepherd, Boston Medical, but eventually now obviously you've launched your own thing. So what led to that transition? Did you always feel that you were entrepreneurial? And when was the moment that you're like, I had to get out of this big hospital, hospital things, and start doing my own thing and make something different?
Yeah. So that's a great question, because I never really thought of myself as somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur and start my own thing. But I've always been about growth mindset. I want to grow, I want to evolve. So I wasn't afraid of change and things like that. So like you said, I work at all of these places, and then finally I was working at Good Shepherd Rehab Hospital. I did that for about 8 years, taking care of people with spinal cord injury, brain injury, stroke, MS, Parkinson's, pain, and then kind of came to the realization of, I need to do more because, I'm not really solving real health, which I understand because I also have public health issues and I understand what leads to disease or what leads to health. But the interesting thing is that even for me as a doctor, even though I wanted to focus on health as a way to solve pain, I've been a doctor for so many years. I didn't know how to solve health. I knew how to solve sickness. I knew how to do injections. I know how to read MRIs. I know how to do all of those things. But to give a patient guidance on sleep, nutrition, other ways that are actually healthy, using molecules or using supplements or using peptides or using pharmaceutical stuff, I did not have that. So I outgrew this place, and then a friend of mine, I wasn't even thinking, I knew I had to do something, and a friend of mine who's a physical therapist wanted to come and buy a property in Wayne. And she was like, hey, are you interested in having your own office or something? And I was like, well, sure, because I grew up I'm from Ghana, so and I grew up in an environment where all this matrilineal society, and my grandmother was an entrepreneur. Everybody, all the women just take care of stuff. So I knew it. People were just taking care of shit. It's like, okay, I got to do something a little bit out of here. So then the vision came, and I was like, okay, I want to really get into this. And then when I set my mind to something, I get into it. Yeah. I just get it done. So it was it's been a journey for sure, ups and downs, but here we are, and I'm so grateful that I did.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you were burnt out when working at Good Shepherd that led to make that choice? Because I hear that a lot. Like you said, you just feel like you're not really solving
anything. Yes. So I did have some burnt out because it was just kind of like seeing like 20, 30 patients a day. How much time do you have to spend with them? 10 minutes. You're miserable. And then you also, even the things that you're trying to do for your patients, insurance doesn't want to pay for it. So it's so frustrating, staff and administrators and all of that. So that was something that I recognized, maybe 4 or 5 years into it. And what I did back then, it was like, I can't do this because I'm really helping people. Why do I come home every day angry and miserable and all of that stuff? So I actually have to do some work on myself and started getting into personal growth, started to find some way to kind of calm myself down. So even though all of those stress were there, I was able to remove myself from that to kind of look at it in a way that it doesn't affect me so much. So every day, like noontime, I'll go sit outside and just meditate. And it was just like a really great way for me to deal with it. And I saw so many doctors they go through this and people are miserable and they're hungry. So that's something I went through, but you can always grow. And it's all about, your reaction to the environment. So it was part of it, and it also was a place that I outgrew the place. I was seeing so many patients and done all of this program. So
I just wanted more.
It was time. It was time for me to do more.
So tell the audience a little bit more about Aether Medicine. Who's it for? What is it? And what makes it different from any traditional pain doctor or doctor's office that they might visit?
Yeah. So Aether Medicine is different in a sense of our whole foundational principle is to focus on health. Okay, so focus on health as a way to solve any problem in healthcare, whether it's pain, whether it's migraine, whether any of those things. When people are healthy, all of those things works a lot better. So how we are different is when we are trying to solve your pain, and when you come in and you have pain, we're going to try to understand what else is playing a part in the pain, because pain is a signal, and there's all of these things that influence that experience. It could be something you're eating. It could be that you don't move as well. It could be that you're not sleeping. It could be that you have a lot of stress. It could be that you have some genetics that predispose you there. It could be that you have hormonal imbalances. A lot of ladies, as they age, hormone goes down, they start having pain, and basically they go see a pain doctor. Instead of trying to figure out what's going on, they get put on medication for pain. They get put on medication for antidepressant. They get for depression, or they get put on medication for sleep. And the underlying issue is that they have hormonal imbalance. So there's all of these things that we do in medicines that are actually not getting to the root cause of why those things exist. So for me, when somebody comes to me and they have pain and they're a lady, 40, 50, going through menopause, I am trying to solve all of those hormonal imbalances. And when I do that, pain gets better. Their metabolic health get better. Their sleep get better. Everything else about them get better. And what we are also doing that's different is really trying to look at cutting edge therapies, and science is evolving so fast. And a lot of time in medicine, when we have research that actually shows that something, a molecule or some lifestyle or something helps people, it takes about 20 years before it becomes available in a clinic. So what we do is really try to take all of that science and try to apply that, give that in front of people to be able to get them to have solutions and I'm always learning. I'm going through a fellowship to really understand aging, because one of the things that the practice is now shifting to is figure out how we solve aging, because the biggest risk factor for any disease is aging. As you age, dementia goes up, diabetes go up, pain go up, all of these things go up. And we understand why we age. So really becoming interested in the science of aging and slowing down aging, you can actually prevent some of those diseases. So we are quite unique, and we are open to collaborating and really trying to care about the individual who's in front of us. We make it precise. We use all these tools and diagnostics to allow us to be able to do that.
So if you can talk a little bit more about that. I know you covered a little bit about type of people that you work with. You said you're trying to get more into the aging space. Also mentioned working with women that are getting older and their hormones changing. So if you can talk a little bit more about the people that you work with specifically and some of the solutions that you might be able to offer them at your practice.
Yes, wonderful. So we have about, I think, 5 programs that are very specific and also very individualized. So the first one is integrative pain management. So pain management that focus of really getting you healthy. People come in and they have, knee pain. We don't want to put steroid in there, especially if they're older, because steroid can actually destroy the knee. So what else can we do that can be healthy? So individuals have knee pain, joint pain. We have regenerative therapies. We have prolozone. We have ozone. We have PRP. We have peptides. There's all of these things that we can use that are a healthy way to solve it. So individuals that have pain and you want a healthy way to do it, that's the place to be. People that have metabolic issues or weight management. So we have a lot of people, as they age, there's metabolic issues affecting their insulin, their glucose, they can't lose weight, they're going to the gym, they're eating right. There's all of these things that are going on, but sometimes there's underlying problems. So those are also a population that we're able to help to lose the weight and lose it in a healthy way. There's a lot of weight loss medicines out there. There's healthy ways to use them that we have expertise in. We also have a hormone optimization program and really looking at the whole person. And hormone is one of those things that is such a simple thing to be able to help, especially women, men going through menopause or andropause. Men who also lose testosterone as we age, right? So those are all very simple ways to really address so many things. Because as hormones start going on, all of these disease states go up. Cardiovascular disease for women, memory, brain fog, fatigue. Women come in low libido. They're tired all the time, right? And it's a simple just balancing hormones. So that's also something that we do, and it's not just giving you a hormone pill. We talk about lifestyle, other things that may be playing a part, and giving you strategies to focus on health. We also have a program specifically for performance and fitness. So athletes or people that are trying to, people that were very active before because of injuries, because of age, they can't perform as well. Those are all people that we can also help, from looking at the whole system, from nutritional levels, from organ system that may be not as functioning as well, mitochondria health, inflammation, all of these things that plays a part in not people performing as well. We have solutions that goes from supplements to peptides to regenerative therapies that can help. And then we have the longevity and anti-aging program. This is a very specific, there's a lot of, those buzzwords out there, but really there's a science to how you do it. And we start with multiple testing, about 350 biomarkers. We do something called PNOE, breath analysis, that gives us your biological age. We also have specific other testing that we do called True Health, True Age, that also gives us your biological age and even the age of every organ in your body. It tells us how old your lung is, how old is your liver, how old is your musculoskeletal system. We look at markers of inflammation, we do some genetic testing. So we put all of that together, and then based on that, we figure out how do we attack the deficits that you have, giving you solutions that are healthy and guide you through it. So those are the programs that we have. And I think we have something that is very special. We just got to get people to understand what we do.
It's a lot. It's like how do you go about like just adapt, like you said, like medicine changes so much. So
it's
like
so
how
fast.
do you keep up with all of that information, and what tools are you using to just keep up?
So I am always going to conferences. I'm always learning, and I would say my superpower is learning. I love to learn. I'm not attached to anything. I always want to grow. I always want to learn. I mean, I just wish I can just learn and not even work. I just love like how things work. So I'm always going to conferences. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to New York City for a mastermind on on hormones, right, with longevity doctors. So like I'm always learning. There's always new ways and better ways to do things. So I'm always doing that. I'm also going through a fellowship right now in anti-aging medicine. So I actually become board certified. So always learning. Every month I have, I'm going to Palm Beach in April to go do a hormone course, another course on peptides and all of those things. So always learning, and I like to read, and I'm connected to all of those doctors that are, leading pioneers of the field, learning from them, and so I can bring that to my patients.
So you've got this unique blend of like medicine and tech, with your background in MIT and AI. How do you see tech shaping the future of healthcare? And like, what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions that might come from that?
Yeah, so definitely AI and tech is gonna change healthcare so much. In fact, there's so many industries that even for me as a doctor, I kind of feel like at some point you may not even need a doctor. Okay, knowledge is expanding, but what we know and what people that are in this field are kind of talk about is the idea that this is going to be augmenting what we do as human beings. Okay, so I don't think it's always going to replace us, and that's kind of how it is. We're always evolving, and AI is just going to evolve with us. And we're going to be able to use it to become more efficient. People think that people are going to lose. Yeah, certain jobs are going to change, but still, it's going to make things more efficient. And there is also some concerns that this may also create a little bit of a gap in terms of worth. Okay, so that's something that's it's real. So I think it's all about people getting educated and people not to be afraid. You have to jump into it. You have to kind of go with the flow and learn. And hopefully, people that are leading this space will be wise enough to put some guardrails in place, because the warning is clear. I mean, this thing is going so
scary.
fast.
It's scary. It's scary.
It is scary.
Like you can always find the AI to do almost anything.
Anything. So let's use it for good. And it's also like, so there's so much things that we can do. Of course, there's always going to be bad actors, and we just got to make sure that we get out there and use it for good reasons. And for me, it's becoming more efficient. There's a lot of stuff I do notes that is not a good use of my time. So having AI to transcribe my notes helps me keeping track of things. I want to communicate with patients. So kind of looking into AI platforms that I have, I'm going to be getting into now. I'm building a whole new platform with a company, and that should be able to help us to just communicate with patients. It will make it so much easy. To kind of.
What company is that? Are they doing?
It's called Wuta. It's WUWTA.
It's a small company.
It's a small company, and they're
I'm trying to find a company to help me with an AI customer service rep. Like somebody calls in and just kind of like talk to them.
I'm sure that there's plenty out there. Yeah, so we can talk about that. But this one is mostly for clinicians, and I can also maybe connect you with them and see if that's going to be a fit.
So what's been the hardest part about running the business so far, especially in healthcare, and how did you how have you pushed through it?
So biggest part of it is the finance side of it, because how healthcare is financed is really not geared towards getting people healthy. So if you're in a model that's focused on getting people healthy, it doesn't work for you, because I spend an hour with a patient to try to understand all of that history, and then how much is insurance going to pay?
And
$120.
And a lot of times the insurance doesn't cover a lot of
They don't
stuff
even
that
want to
you
pay.
do, right?
Exactly. So, and even the things that are healthy, the prolozone, the PRP, the things that are actually going to give us information on how to solve your problem are not covered by insurance. And people also, so the financing part of it is very challenging, dealing with insurance. So my practice, we're moving away from that, because it's just really, I want to spend time with the patient and really understand it. And it's actually cost effective to be able to sit down with the patient, listen to them. Sometimes people just need to be heard. That's all they need. They don't, like they've had problems that they know they're going to be dealing with, but nobody's sitting down to listen to them and explain to them, and that's what I do.
And I feel like and it was kind of like the same in my situation. Dr. Christian, he'll help me out with my ankle when I had ankle surgery, like most people have known about. He helped me. I came to the point where I was like desperate. It's like, I need this pain to be resolved. And I came to him with some suggestions as to what some doctors have told me, and he told me like, hey, this is what I would suggest to help you out. So it's kind of different. It's like everybody just it's different from other doctors where it's just like, hey, you need to do this or you need to pay for it. I just want your money situation. So he's little bit focused on. He's more focused on getting your body right, making sure you feel right, and making sure that you're able to get back to performing to the level that you were performing at in the past. So that's pretty cool as well. To kind of like to be a witness of that.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that's important is really trying to get people to become healthy, because you're a healthy person. You run, you do all of these things. So when you have that reserve and we do any intervention, you actually get better outcomes. So that's why we always talk about get people to be healthy, dial in the nutrition, make sure you get the sleep. And when you do all of those things, then anything else we do really helps to.
So what's something you do to stay sharp, and what would you recommend for folks who may not be in pain now but want to stay ahead of it?
Yeah, so for myself, you have to walk the walk, right? So it's just the fundamentals. Sleep is so important, okay? So when you sleep and you get good sleep, and it's not so much the quantity, but it's the quality of sleep. You have different stages of sleep. So sleep is really, really important. Nutrition, very important. Okay, a lot of the stuff we eat in America is junk. Processed food, get rid of it. So eating real whole food makes a huge difference, because this is how you power this whole system. So if you don't have the energy, then your body is going to adapt in a way that is not optimal. So nutrition is super important. Exercise. So what do you do with that nutrition? So when you eat, to be able to use that to create energy, this is where exercise comes in. And exercise has so many benefits for your hormones, for muscle, for brain health. Everything is exercise, okay? And then we also will have to manage stress. Stress is one of the biggest things that we have in America. A lot of people stress. Cortisol is bad for you. So fundamentally, I try to do all of those things. So I do meditation, I work out in the gym, I don't eat any processed food, I rarely drink alcohol. Occasionally I'll have it. Alcohol is not great either, because it does affect your sleep. And then I take some supplements that are good for my gut, supplement that control inflammation, and then also explore some peptides here and there to help with aging healthily and recovering. And then also balancing my hormones. So I do all of those things that I talk to people about, and I do all of this testing also on myself. And then it's just kind of like, man, I need to do a little bit more. So really measuring things has been really helpful for me to kind of dial in the habit, because I know what I'm supposed to do as a doctor. And most people do too. So there's a difference between knowing and doing, that gap. And when you have data, it motivates you. So really, we have a tons of things that I have done on myself that gives me that motivation, like, okay, I got it out of it.
And as you see a lot of your patients as they come through here, what the conversations that you have with them, what have you noticed that most people are just always lacking when it comes to being healthy and their wellness journey? Yeah,
so I think like sleep is one that is very underestimated. Okay, because we produce.
I sleep at 2 a.m. and wake up at 6.
That's not good. We gotta solve it. Okay, and you're young enough that you can still make it, but definitely you want to dial in it. So sleep plays a huge role. When people are not sleeping, hormones are not good. Their gut is not good. Pain doesn't get better. How they don't have resilience to deal with stress. So sleep is super, super, super important. And then exercise. Everybody knows exercise is important, but it becomes what type of exercise based on your goals. So I see people who go to the gym and they work out, but then when they come here and we do a test to look at their cardiorespiratory status, like their VO2 max, they don't have a good VO2 max, okay? So there's all these nuances in what type of exercise, how do you do it? So even though people sometimes are doing the right things, they may be doing the wrong things, okay? So it's all about timing, the dosage, and all of those things. So, if there's one thing that you want to dial in, it's sleep. And then definitely make sure that you're not eating any processed food.
Yeah. Okay. So someone's in their 30s or 40s, out of shape, tired, a little stressed. What would be their 3-step reset that you would tell them to be like, hey, this is what I need you to do to get your body right?
Absolutely. So somebody like that, it helps to really understand at the basic level what's going on in their biology. Okay, because a lot of times there is all these stresses and other things that even change your thinking. And it's easier to hack your biology than to hack your psychology. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Why are they not doing it? Okay? And sometimes because they don't have energy. Sometimes they're not sleeping as well. Sometimes they have a lot of stress. They have all of these things in their life. So really getting a good picture of what's going on and trying to figure out where do we start. And again, it becomes let's dial in sleep, let's dial in nutrition, let's dial in exercise, let's manage stress. And then from there, If they are obese, then the exercise become more targeted, right? And then it's also if they haven't done that in so long, let's figure out what is the infrastructure they need. Sometimes people need a trainer, sometimes they have to do it once a week. So, and it's also holding people's hand and holding them accountable. So it's very precise, very individualized. We get all of this data that sometimes people need to see to say, oh my gosh, my A1C is too high. This is how we diagnose diabetes or prediabetes or even insulin, right? So people are running around, young people, and they have very high insulin. They wonder why they can't lose weight. Insulin stores fat. So there's all of these things that we can kind of point out to individuals, and then that helps us one step at a time and encouraging people to get there.
It kind of leads to my next question, because do you think aging is mostly related to like the biology, or like do you think like mindset and environment plays more to the bigger role to like that more people realize in terms of like
Of course, the environment is a big one. Mindset is a big one, and in fact, when it comes to longevity and how long you want to live, you want to live, it starts with having a longevity mindset. You have to kind of have the mindset that you want to do something. It all starts with the mind. Okay, so mindset is super important. There's a growth mindset, and there's people who don't have a growth mindset, and there's people who tend to be more negative, and there's people who are optimistic. The data shows if you're more positive, you tend to live longer. Okay. Mindset is very, very important. The environment, you mentioned the environment. The environment is an invisible hand of behavior change, okay? The environment is actually what shapes you. If you're trying to be healthy and all your friends are drinking and smoking and not working out, you're not gonna change, okay? So the environment you put yourself in, so if you wanna change a habit, you wanna put yourself in a new environment. And there's all of the science behind how we change habits. You can do something called temptation bundling. Like if you like music and you don't like to work out, maybe you put on the music before you go work out, something that you enjoy. So there's all these strategies. So definitely the environment makes a huge difference. And that's what I have here in my office is, I have the rooms numbered meditation, exercise, nutrition, sleep, to kind of remind people. We want the environment to shape like, okay, I know this. I need to do more of it. So the environment is such a huge role.
It's kind of like that phrase, you're only as good as the people that you hang around with, right? Let's talk about building a business and growing it. I see that you speak, like you said, you speak to a lot of people at conferences, so building relationships and educating people as well. How important has visibility been to your brand and your mission? Because I know that you also have a lot of following on online as well. So how has that helped your business and growing the business as well?
Absolutely. So getting your message out is super, super important. And that's something that initially when I started, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to talk in front of, but you have to learn how to do it. If you're in business, you have to tell people what you do. Nobody is going to sell that message for you. So you have to be able to sell your message. And selling in the form of really getting people to understand what is the value proposition, what are they going to get from you. So that's something that I'm still working on as a business person. Definitely marketing is a big one. Really getting to do marketing right. Marketing is just, it's one of those things. I'm a doctor. I didn't go to business school. I don't know anything about that.
He has a whole setup behind this, by the way. There's a whole setup.
Yes. But learning and finding different ways that works for you and connecting with people, right? We met at a networking event, and here we are talking about this message. So it's about, and then also having conviction in what you're doing. Okay, you have to own what you do and be clear that you're making a difference. And I see that every day. I mean, people come here, and I'm just like so grateful for what I'm able to do for people and the privilege I have to be able to make that difference. So get out there and do more of it. Market, connect with the right people. You're always learning. There's always people who are going to know more than you, right? I know more medicine. Maybe there's somebody who can help me with even how I talk and all of those things. So looking for the right people has been what I've been trying to work on to get there.
And where do you find that most of your clients have been coming from? Like, has it been online, referrals, community events, or some of the conferences that you show up at? If you can speak more about some of the places that you show up at intentionally to grow your business.
Absolutely. So I would say for now, we've been very fortunate where a lot of our patients are coming from word of mouth. Okay, so people come here, they have a great experience, and they tell their partners, they tell people they know. That's the best marketing you can have. If your own audience are able to share your message and support what you do, because it makes a difference for them. So we get a lot of those people. I've also met people from conferences. So I go and I do talks. I was recently in New York. Somebody met me there, and then I got a few patients from there. I do podcasts, and people hear about my message, and people come. So I see people all over the country. And it's also getting into communities. I'm here in Wayne, suburb of Philadelphia. So I go to places, there is like 55 and up communities. I go out there and talk and try to show up and participate in community events. And it's not just there to just get business, but also really trying to, like, you want to make a difference in your community. So that's something that we care about, and all of those things have translated and helping us patient. People also find us on Google. I actually get a lot of people from Google, and that's very interesting because people are looking. People are tired of suffering, and they may have a problem that I've solved it for somebody else. They were able to share it online, and they come in and we do that for them. And not just that, then there's so many other things that we solve for them. So those have been kind of the main sources. I haven't really done a whole lot with Instagram, but I think I have a whole new marketing strategy that's coming up. So we're gonna try to blow out and get people to understand what we do a lot more.
And do you do all your marketing strategy yourself, or do you work with somebody? How do you go about that?
So I've had experience of not getting good people in the past. Like I've paid a lot of money to people in the past, just full of shit. It really helped me out. Okay. So what I do now is I do emails weekly to my patients, and that's something that I create myself with the content and just educating. So I do a lot of that. And then recently, I have actually hired a company in California that's actually going to help us because I want it to be more comprehensive. I want it to be about the brand, about where I want to go, who I want to get in front of, and I want to also get clear on my audience. So there's so many things that you got to put together. The messaging has to be clear, your presentation, and then making sure you're talking right in front of people. So it's the message, the audience, and the medium. So they help me to kind of navigate all of that, and hopefully it'll be a more global, holistic marketing strategy.
And I know it's tough especially in the healthcare field. The hardest thing that you probably have to say is building that trust with your client first. So how do you go about that, especially when people might be skeptical? What's your approach to building real trust? Not just as a doctor, but as a brand. I know you said you try to change up everything for your messaging. So.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that you can do is just being yourself, authentic. Okay, I show up every day and want to make a difference in people's life. Before even I walk in here, I do my meditation, my prayers, and whatever. Like, I want to make a difference in people's life. I have to remind myself of it, right? Life gets in the way. So when somebody comes in front of me and they have an issue, I listen. That's one thing that all my patients will say. I do listen. People want to be heard. So I do listen to them. And even when people are telling me something, sometimes they're telling you a problem, and there is a bigger problem in the story. That is the main thing that's driving, but they don't even recognize that that's what it is. I can give you an example. I have a patient who comes in and, she has all this pain, and in talking through it, the main thing, like, she couldn't go to some wedding event. Like, that was a big thing. So it's like, okay, let's figure out a strategy to get you there. So listening to people, being honest with them, giving them options and solution, and then respecting their values and respecting their choices. Okay, because people are in different stages of development. There's different things that people know and people don't know, and it's not about me as a doctor. We all have our biases, right? I have a lot of science and I have a lot of education. I have my biases, but I always want to respect who is in front of me. And then once you have that, and people trust that you really care about who they are, then that builds. It takes time. And sometimes people come in and they may come in with some not aggressive necessarily, but have a view because they have been hurt, right? So they've had experiences that makes them think a certain way, and especially I'm also a person of color. People come here sometimes, there's some of those things that are going on. But once they know that you really care, you understand, and you care about them,
I guess so.
And then everything kind of opens up.
Like you said a little bit ago about just trying to just listen to people and make sure that they feel heard. And just like the example that you gave with the woman that that she was probably stressed about not getting to the wedding, and not knowing that the stress is making her pain.
Absolutely.
But meanwhile she's just worried about the wrong thing.
Absolutely, man. You gotta listen. And when you listen, and that's a privilege I have as a doctor, that I've had the privilege to listen to people, because as a doctor, when people come from in front of you, they're actually quite vulnerable, because people want to be open. They will tell me things that they wouldn't even tell their spouse. So I take that privilege very seriously. It's a privilege to do what we do. And if you can listen to people in their most vulnerable state, you can make a difference. So it's also very important. One of the things that I hear that really bothers me is like a patient go to a doctor's office and they tell them like, there's nothing we can do for you. You're wrong or something like that, right? So really validating the patient's responses and their understanding is super important. Even if when they're wrong, it's good to validate, to build that trust. And then when you build that trust, and you say, hey, this is what I know, this is where I'm coming from, and I can help you with this.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to somebody like a starting doctor like yourself, trying that has their own practice, trying to build that trust?
Yeah.
You're fairly new, but you've also been in the industry for a long time.
A little bit. Yeah. So I would say, first of all, one thing that I tell people is like, if you want to be a good doctor, you go to medical school. If you want to be a great doctor, you work on yourself. So you have to work on yourself as a person to understand how we relate. You need to grow. You need to evolve. We are always evolving. There's different levels of stages of development. And if you have self-awareness and you have all of those things, then it makes it easy. And then, like I said, you have to listen. Make it about the person in front of you, not about you or about your ego or any of those things or about your day. You have to put that behind. And then when you do that, that trust naturally comes. Okay. And it's also energy, because people can tell when you're not present, when you're checked out, people can definitely tell. So and that's something I'm good at. Even if I'm having a bad day, as soon as I get in front of the patient,
lock in.
It's in. Like they will never know that I have an issue going on, but we all got issues, right? Yeah. So it's about that, and even that is, there's blessings in that, and having more empathy for others.
So fast forward 10 years from now, what's your vision for Aether Medicine? What's the big dream that you have planned?
So 10 years from now, we envision that Aether Medicine will be, something that it will be in different continents, in Europe and, South America, in Africa, global, and really focusing on, we're going to have a lot of technology, and how do we use that to really help people to dial it in, and also focus on evolution. We want people, as we are growing, we have all these technologies, but people are still not evolved. We still have a lot of egocentric and ethnocentric ideologies. So how do we get people to become more, as they're becoming healthy? How do we get people to also work on their mind? So Aether Medicine, that's where I envision where we'll be, where we're not just making a difference in health, but really changing how we evolve and becoming better human in society and on the planet.
Do you plan to open more locations around this area, or you keep this, or we'll open up another state?
Definitely would love to, maybe expand a little bit more in Pennsylvania. We're here now, and then maybe look at other states and kind of go from there. Yeah.
So if you can go back, give yourself some med school stuff, some advice, what would you tell them?
So that's a great question, but that's always a hard one, right? Because all of those experiences, all of those mistakes have led to who I am today. And I also don't have a lot of regrets. I'm a person that's like, I forgive. I don't hang on to anything. But definitely what I would have said is to maybe focus a lot more on health. When I was younger, and when you're young, you just kind of like do whatever. We go to med school, we take an exam, and you go binge drink, you don't sleep. There's all of this thing. So a lot of people in medicine are not as healthy. So I would probably, say, hey man, let's start dialing in that sleep and all of those things.
Stop partying as much.
Let's not party as much, man.
That's awesome.
It's all part of it, right?
It's all part of it. It's our journey, right?
Yes. So,
some fun questions for you.
Yes.
First of all, this one just came to my head. What is is this something that that's going on in the medical world that we might not know about? That it's like something that's like cool that you think the public needs to know about? Some crazy medical revolutionary thing that they've come up with that we don't know, that they've tested it out.
Oh man, it's hard to kind of think of one, but there is a lot of technology in CRISPR technology where we can edit a gene. Okay, so a gene maybe your genes create proteins that may create a disease. And there's technologies that we can actually change it. It's a code like AT and other codes that you can change a few of those things, and then it becomes something good. So CRISPR, it's been around for a little bit, but that is coming.
So they can change your eye color or something?
Something like that, but it's really not so much to kind of change the phenotype in terms of eye color, and because that's, it get ethical, right? We don't want to, we don't want to create superhumans, which we can, right?
I'm especially black, I want to white.
I know, exactly. Exactly, so you can switch it up wherever you are, If you go to Africa, then you become black. You come to America, you become white. No, so the idea is, but really to kind of more for health, right? So that's very interesting. And then there's also quantum physics, where in you know, like you take a cell and you go way deep down, and there's like things are a little off. Yeah. So really sorting that out would be very interesting to, you know.
So they might be able to call. They might be able to cure, like, I mean, I don't want to use the wrong words, but like maybe fix autism before.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, we understand what's going on. It actually starts in the mother's oocytes in the eggs, right? So there's senescence. There's all of these things. I talk about senescence. It actually happens in the mother. Long time ago. So to be able to kind of get a sense of that, and even something that I would tell people to even think about, if you're a mom or a dad who wants to have, we know exercise changes your gene. Right. So when you're about to conceive and you were exercising, you pass on healthy genes to your kids. So if you're dad, if you're mom, you're kind of thinking about that, dial in the health habit, because all of those genes, because people are actually born with bad genes because of their parents did not do specific exercises, okay? So these genes get carried on. So something that, you know, all of these things are fascinating, and you know, for progeny and all of those things, it's really dialing in your habits. And if you do that, the kid is gonna get it.
I'm gonna think about that. Yes. My child, when you're watching this years from now on my YouTube
all the
channel,
running.
I'm just gonna tell you to keep it up. You know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you weren't in medicine, you know, what would you be doing?
Man, I'll probably be playing music.
Music.
I love music.
Okay. Guitar.
I love the bass.
Okay.
So I used to play bass in a reggae band before I went to med school.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I love music and still.
Can anybody find like?
Oh no, it's like, you know, I don't want anybody looking at any of this. It's like, where's our VHS? I mean, that's it's like you know,
VHS. Wow, he just show you. He was like that.
My age.
He showed your age.
Okay, man. You know. I'm from VHS. The 2000s, the 90s. Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's how we used to get information. But yeah, I love music, and you know, and I'm still like interested in healing. So some other way, and even that, the music was like, you know, vibration. It's a way to heal. So yeah.
For someone who wants to grow, whether in healthcare, business, or just in life in general, what's one thing that you think they should start doing today?
You have to really take care of your health. Yeah. Okay. Really get into taking care of your health. Once you're healthy, then everything else becomes easy. Then you have the resilience, health, and personal growth. Learn, you know, this, you know, we have this programming that we have that whether through your family or environment or whatever, you can change all of those programs if they're not working for you, but you have to become aware of it. So waking up to those things, self-awareness, self-actualization, and then self-transcendence. So working on yourself is super important, okay? Get to know yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Christian, I appreciate you, you know, sitting with me, dropping some gems today, talking to the people about healthcare, staying in shape, and sharing your mindset and your journey. Where can the people find you at?
So people, it's been an honor, and I really enjoy kind of talking to you because we go way back, because this is when I first met you. I was just starting this and trying to figure things out.
I was probably like 24, 25.
Yeah. I know. That, you know, and here we are. So my practice is called Aether Medicine. And it's in Wayne, a suburb of Philadelphia. If people are interested in learning more, they can go to our website, www.aethermedicine. Aether is A as in apple, E as in egg, T as in Tom, H as in Henry, E-R medicine. And I'm sure we can put it in the notes somewhere. Aethermedicine.com. People can also follow us on Instagram, Aether_medicine. I give a lot of education, and I haven't done so much recently, but going to be doing a lot more of those things to educate people, and people can also reach out to us if they're interested. 484-806-1101.
Thank you so much. If you all got value from this conversation, please hit that like button, drop a comment, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you feel needs to hear this. This is Beyond the Brand. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Perfect.
We did it.